Narendra, for your kind introduction. So I thanks organizer, particularly Vishwanath, for inviting me to this international workshop on semantic techniques and technologies for data and knowledge representation. I may be one of the speaker odd out of the others because I'm not the person who has expertise on semantic techniques and technologies, but Vishwanath wants me to speak. So I thought of sharing my views and my understanding of uh, culture, open culture data, as I have been responsible for management of culture heritage.
Sir, data is very much in the core of this workshop. So we would like to know what's happening in the cultural heritage, what type of data is available. And thank you, sir.
Sure. So let me share my PPT. Just give me 1 minute.
I have to make you co-host, sir. Just a second.
Yeah, please do it.
Yeah. Yes, done, sir.
No, it's still not allowing.
So you just try, sir, now.
No, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Check, sir. 1 second. It's showing for us that you are the co-host.
Now it's doing.
Yeah. Okay.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. So as Naren has already explained my topic, that what I am going to speak. So basically, my association with the cultural heritage is quite long, since 2003. Earlier, I was at IGNCA from 2003 to 2004 to 2011, then moved to JNU, and then from 2018, I again came back to IGNCA with various responsibility and positions. I'm also associated with the uh, International Advisory Committee of UNESCO Memory of the World Program. I'm representing Asia in that region. And I'm also member of UNESCO Global Task Force on Indigenous Languages. I have been recently appointed as UNESCO is celebrating 2022 to 2032 as a decade of indigenous languages. Besides, as an expert member, I have helped in setting up documentary center at South Korea. I was in the International Committee of Digital Dunang Project of China. I have been associated in IFLA in various capacity, which I'm also member of as an expert member in the committee of IFLA on a program advisory committee on cultural heritage. Besides national and internationally, I have been a part of various groups, discussions on issues dealing with library archives and museums all over the world. So let me share first my understanding. What do you mean by cultural heritage? So data is important. Cultural heritage data is very important. So we can categorize cultural heritage data in different category. Documentary heritage, any document in print, audio, video, handwritten, non-print or digital is the part of documentary heritage. Then second important category of documentary heritage is intangible cultural heritage, like folklore, folk music, uh, oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, festivals, traditional knowledge systems, knowledge and practices concerning nature and the universe knowledge, and various kind of skills related to art and craft. So all this comes under intangible cultural heritage. Then comes the tangible cultural heritage data, which is in two parts: movable cultural heritage, like paintings, sculptures, coins, artifacts, and art objects. Then immovable cultural heritage, like monuments, archaeological sites, and then underwater cultural heritage, like shipwrecks, underwater dunes, and cities, etc. We also have a category of data which is concerning natural heritage, with the various aspects of cultural landscape, physical, biological, or geological formation. So there are various kind of institutions working in these areas in India and abroad, and these institutions are responsible for preservation, dissemination, and propagation of various kind of cultural heritage data. So what are the key issues in managing cultural heritage data? So one has to collect, store and organize for long-term preservation, because cultural heritage data represent the society, civilizations. So it is very important. And it also need to be validated, and it has to be created, effective archival system to be created for wider access. And we have to ensure that it should be accessible to all, irrespective of technology they use or their disabilities, including navigation, content, and interactive elements. And we should develop the user-centric focus access system, so everybody can have relevance and ease of use. And we also need to take care of multilinguality, because if you want to preserve the cultural diversity, we have to think of culture, linguistic diversity also. So both cultural diversity and linguistic diversity are interrelated to each other. So it should be, we should use the interoperable system with cultural networks to enable users to easily locate the content and services that meet their need. And last, we should also take care of all kind of copyright and ownership rights. Although all these traditional knowledge system data, they are away from copyright, but there are various kind of agreements, ownership rights, and other legal issues in particularly in digitizing and digital access. So we need to understand and take care of that. The topic which I'm speaking, open culture data, what does it mean? Open culture data is the knowledge and information of cultural institutions, organization, or initiatives about their collections and or the various works they are undertaking. And this data should be available for consultation, for use, for reuse, and to disseminate to the large number of society. And this should be available in a public domain with the licensing like Creative Commons licensing or right statements and other relevant licensing policies. See, we need to understand open culture data contains two things, contents and metadata. So this all digitized cultural objects like scanned paintings, photographs, art objects, manuscripts, etc. are contents, and all the descriptive information about these objects are called metadata. So I think this is important to understand. It is not easy to access the data, cultural data, particularly in India. We have a lot of obstacles, a lot of barriers. First of all, most of this data has not been digitized. Some have been digitized, so that digitized data is also available still in the DVDs, servers, and other places. We don't have a good digital repository or digital archive. There are various reasons for that: lack of infrastructure, a good technological vision, and also in many cases, like about the manuscripts, there is hardly metadata standards are available for cataloging and digital archiving of various kind of manuscripts, like in palm leaf and other things. Definitely, there are language barriers. Give an example. We have the manuscript which are in different scripts, which me and you cannot read it. So we cannot do a lot of OCRs are not available in these particular language. So you have to scan it in image only. So there are a lot of obstacles. Number of other technological obsolescence are also leading to creating problem like all old gramophone records, spool tapes, and other information. If you want to digitize this, lack of technology, sometimes very few people are available to understand, and very few options are there. Definitely, there are certain mindset, possessive mindset of the archivist and the people who are managing libraries and archives in cultural sector. And definitely we need a lot of policies like uh, Books and Delivery Act, which was enacted in 1954, is still not have been amended. So that's a kind of lack of policies on that. So there are three important components if you have to make data under open environment, open culture data. Definitely, first information is the catalog. Catalog is the lifeline of any institution. Until unless we have catalog, we cannot know what is available. So many of the cultural institutions are still not catalog their information. Then digital archiving by digitizing and creating metadata, by providing anywhere, anytime access. During this pandemic, there is hardly any cultural institution who is able to provide full text access to the digital contents of the cultural material. And definitely for long-term preservation, we need to look into the digital preservation issues. Why digital preservation is important? Because it helps in linking the past with the futures. This knowledge, heritage data contains knowledge of the past, and also it required to be transferred to the posterity. And whatever material they have been contained, maybe palm leaf, paper, microfilm, whatever data media they have been using for storage, it cannot preserve forever. There is a life, there is a limit of any, there is a life of every media. So we have to transfer that data, cultural data from that media to digital media. And now significant part of world's knowledge and heritage is created born digital. So we have to really think of how to preserve this born digital cultural heritage. We need to preserve this memory of the world. And by digital preservation, we also help in this disaster risk reduction and safeguarding. You have seen during this bar, during this terrorist attack, flood, natural disasters, etc. A lot of libraries and archives have been damaged. So we have to safeguard them. So there, it is a very, very huge challenge. And you can see uh, initially, if you see that various kind of media, clay table, there is a life expectancy was up to 10,000 years. And now in case of current storage like hard disk or portable hard disk, you don't know when the data will be corrupted, data will be crashed. So we are living in the world of uncertainty, digital world of uncertainty. That's why we need to have some basic preparation, basic strategies to preserve this uh, uh, archival contents available in various cultural libraries, museums, and archives for the posterity. And there are a number of advantages of that. These, by digitizing or by digitally archiving, it's a enhanced access. It help in improving the services. It also help in reducing the handling of the original objects. So that can increase the life of a particular object. And also we can do various kind of collaborative resources. During this pandemic, we have organized number of virtual exhibitions, and these virtual exhibitions have been collaborated. Like we have done some international exhibition in collaboration with. So digital technology is with us, and that's why we need to. But when we talk about digitization, digital archiving, and digital preservation of cultural heritage in India, there are very few initiatives. And because what I understand, we have manuscript, large amount of manuscript, we have large amount of audio visual. So we need to create specific archives, and also we need to convert our museum into virtual museum. We need to create walkthroughs. We need to use immersive technology in showcasing historical movements in museum. I think we are lagging behind quite a bit in this area. Whatever initiative we have or prototype or something, if you see the situation, national project initiated in our country, Digital Library of India was started with the fanfare, but we don't know what is the fate of that. Where is the data? The millennium books were digitized, but where are those million books are lying right now? Similarly, in 2007, a project Center for Excellence National Digital Preservation Program was launched by CDEC Pune, but we don't know the existence of that currently. Similarly, IIT Bombay was given task for creating National Virtual Library of India by the Ministry of Culture. Still, we don't have that National Virtual Library of India in place. Although we have a good initiative in form of National Digital Library of India, but it is more focusing on academic content rather than cultural data. So we don't have a very good example or foolproof project which we can say that we have cultural data available in India in open or even in restricted way. Forget about this various kind of linked data or various aspects concerning digital humanities. This is happening worldwide. But all these things are not known to the people. We don't have any trained manpower in these areas. We don't have a proper understanding of this. And whenever I talk to the people, they are lacking this kind of understanding. Our IT, we are a IT superpower, but somewhere we are lacking in basically creating a good digital archiving for open data. There are certain kind of understanding or important information you want to know, that how this cultural data is being placed in various institutions in this country. Ministry of Culture, Government of India is having about 45 institutions which are responsible for preservation and uh, maintenance of the cultural heritage resources. And these institutions are divided into three categories. First category is the knowledge organization, and these knowledge organizations are libraries and archives under the Ministry of Culture, like National Archive of India, Anthropological Survey of India, Gandhi Shrimati and Darshan Shrimati, Nehru Memorial and Museum Library, and Raja Mohan Foundation is supporting public libraries, Rampur Raja, Khuda Works, and Thanjavur Maharaja. So these are the knowledge organization. Then second category of organization which are responsible for tangible culture heritage, like Archaeological Survey of India, various type of museums in India, National Museum and other museum. Then there are certain kind of other organizations. Uh, uh, then comes the intangible cultural heritage. So there are various organizations, including IGNCA, which are responsible for management of intangible cultural heritage. So IGNCA comes in all three categories. Besides, there are some state archives, state libraries, state museums. They are also possessing various kind of cultural heritage resources. There are a number of such institutions which are available in India and abroad. And there are certain universities, old university, they also possess certain kind of old valuable heritage data, cultural data. Uh, and besides that, uh, I am working with IGNCA. IGNCA is one of the most reputed and one of the most prominent organization which is responsible for promotion, preservation, and dissemination of Indian cultural heritage. Set up in 1987, this organization is located in Delhi. We have 9 regional centers, and through these regional centers and headquarters, we are promoting. And the most important repository of cultural data is the Kalanidhi division of Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, which is having manuscripts, which is having all kind of artifacts, art objects. So let me give you some unique programs and collections of Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts. In this division is divided into different section, and one of the most important section of is the Kalanidhi Reference Library. And one of the unique program of this collection, Kalanidhi Reference Library, print library, electronic library, is the acquisition of personal collection of various scholars. Like after the death, many of these scholars, their families are not keeping the material with them. So we have a scheme of donation to personal collections to the Kalanidhi Reference Library. And so far we have more than 25 personal collection of eminent scholars like Acharya Hari Prasad Dwivedi, Sunidhi Kumar Chatterjee, Hiramani, Krishna Kapilani, Dr. Kapila Varshan, Devendra Sharu, and Professor Namar Singh, Mr. Shyam Benegal, the film personality. So all these collections are preserved and provided to the researcher for various kind of purposes. Then we have another good section, a very rich section called Cultural Archive in the Kalanidhi division. That is basically contains rare collections of ethnography and audiovisual documentation of old masters and rare form of art acquired by from different individuals and institutions. It has been divided into 6 categories. Literature, so we have important personal collection of like Dr. R.C. Rangra collection of audio recording. We have Voice of Tagore, audio recording of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, Akhilesh Mitra collection, recording of renowned Urdu poet Firaq Gorakhpuri. Then we have Vastu Silp, means sculptures, Lansdane sculpture, Vinoba Hill collection, Chamunath Mitra collection of terracotta temples of West Bengal. We have Vinoba collection of Ajanta caves. Then we have photographic collection. It's a very important collection, and we have one of the finest and a very rare collection of photographer in 19th century photographer Raja Deen Dayal. So this collection which we have, which was donated by the family, even his entire studio for camera and other things are also available with us. Then we have photographic collection of Cartier-Bresson, eminent photographers from France. We have D.R.D. Walia collection of photographs. We have David Aldrich collection of photographs. We have photographs by Jyoti Bhatt and Raghav Kaneria. We have Ashwin Mehta's photographic collection. We have Martha Stone collection of photographs. Sunil Jana collection on tropical social, cultural, and political life. Sambhu Shah. And all these collections have been digitized by us. All are available in digital form. Similarly, we have certain music collections. We have Krishna Swami collection of about along with some other collection. We have S. Natarajan collection, B.K.K. Rangara collection, Ranganayaki Iyengar collection, Dr. Vesh Venkatesh collection, and we have several other collections. We have a very eminent collection from eminent photographers, mother and daughter Bruners, Elizabeth Brunner and Sas Brunner. They were from Hungary and they prepared paintings of eminent political personality like Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, and also. So we have about 1,000 paintings. We have some costumes, we have some jewelries, we have some kind of other artifacts and art objective. We have very important collection of Ananda Kumaraswamy, a well-known art historian. His families, we acquire his collection from the family. We have other some collection on created by agency in-house, which include Harikatha collection, Sadagopan collection, worldly paintings, rock art paintings, and various other collection. Recently, we got a very, very rare collection on dance. This is there was a dance scholar, Mohan Khokar. His dance collection have been donated to us, and we are in the process of processing this connection, and then we will digitize also. So this is the Mohan Khokar dance collection. Third unit, we have the visual archive, that's a slide library. So we have over 100,000 slides on various aspects of Indian cultural heritage collected from institutions like AXA, British Library, Victoria and Albert Museum, Chester Beatty, and all these collections are on art and architecture, painting, landscape, culture and traditions, and the different kind of monuments in India, World Heritage Sites and all those things. And this also available in digital form. Entire collection has been digitized, and this can be used accessing. Then comes the another important project. In 1989, we started microfilming of the manuscript in the various institutions in India, and under that project, we digitized and microfilmed about 300,000 manuscripts. So all these manuscripts are available at IGNCA. So now, what is the status of this collection at IGNCA in terms of accessibility and open? These entire resources have been cataloged. We have an online catalog, so anybody can go to IGNCA website and can know about these collections. You can easily this catalog has been created using Mark 21 standard format. So anybody can know about what collection or what resources on what subject we have at IGNCA. I'm not able to include a slide because I was extremely busy last 2 weeks, and this presentation has been just prepared in the morning today. So I was not able to get many things in this slide presentation. So if you want to know metadata, means cataloging information, you can go online. But unfortunately, we are not able to, we don't have digital access to this online. For digital access, one has to visit to Karunanidhi Reference Library in IGNC only. Or we can provide through email some of the collections on payment basis. So that is the one area which we need to work. We need to make it available. All these collections, whatever have been digitized in an online accessible mode, we are working on. We are trying to develop some kind of a system. Like we have 4,000 rare books also. So we are just trying to put it online. It may take some time. Then in 2003, another important of the Ministry of Culture started, National Mission for Manuscript. Under that mission, it was decided to document the manuscript. So far, about 4.3 million manuscripts have been identified and documented. This is available online. Metadata is available. Cataloging information is available online. And this mission has also helped in preservation of uh, uh, more than 4 million manuscripts. About 300,000 manuscripts have also been digitized under that. So by combining together 300,000 digitized in Kalanidhi, 300,000 digitized in a National Mission for Manuscript, total 600,000 manuscripts have been digitized under this project. So now you can understand the value of or volume of the data available with us. And these manuscripts which were digitized are in different format like paper manuscripts, palm leaf manuscripts, birchbark paper manuscript, on bamboo leaf manuscripts, manuscript on different Ayurveda, on architecture, on mathematics, on astronomy, on astrology, and different like this is example of scroll manuscripts. And these manuscripts are in different scripts, uh, Brahmi, Devanagari, Prakriti, Pali, Grantha, Modi, Tiglari. So these manuscripts are not cannot be read by me and you as a commoner. You need to understand this script. Only then you can read these manuscripts. So we are also we have published over 1,000 books based on these manuscripts, and all these some of the manuscript on the topics have been translated. So if you want to know more about IGNCA website, you can go to IGNCA website and you can have details about these manuscripts. Now, next important thing is that we have started some uh, uh, open data accessibility. This is some of the examples I'm giving you what we have in terms of open culture data. So this is the one project of IGNCA, National Cultural Audio Video Archive. It was started 2 years back, and currently 30,000 hours of audio visual recordings in digital are available on this particular repository. So you can go to nca.gov.in repository, and you can access this particular 30,000 hours of video recordings. Some are from our collection, some are from. This is a long-term project. We are aiming another 30,000 hours in this year. And later, we have been signing an agreement with various institutions all over India, and we are requesting them to provide their audio video cultural resources. And this is something under open access. Anybody can go and make use of this data. But we cannot call totally open culture data, because for reuse and other thing you require permission and other thing. So this is the one example of IGNC initiative of having open data. A second example is we have developed an app called Sangam app. So you can just understand that basically various kind of rich our rituals and traditions, or bhakti sangeet is available in different form. So we have collected all those things, about 2,500 devotional tracks featuring 400 artists in 20 languages, which includes mantras, strotras, suktas, slokas, dhuns, artis, sufi, and gurbani, etc. that have been collected, and this is another open database. Anybody can download and listen this wonderful music. Now, third initiative what we have in terms of open culture data, open data, is the Vedic Heritage Portal. So this is the another portal which we have started constructing. Some work has already been done. It is open to public. Vedic Heritage Portal. So idea is to prepare a uh, portal which can provide access to one single window access to all everything on Vedic literature, Vedic recitation, Vedic text, Vedic publication, interpretation, And also it is planned to provide all kind of Vedic rituals, and whatever a common man want to learn about Vedas or want to know about Vedas, because Vedas are considered the most ancient and most significant text in the Indian literary history. So everybody want to know it. We have been collaborating with IITs and IIMs for various kind of collaboration to decipher and to upload this particular. So this is another important initiative of Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts in terms of Vedic Heritage Portal. There are some initiative by other cultural institutions under the Ministry of Culture or from other organization, state level organization. So the Asiatic Society of Mumbai has digitized 5 million pages from the rare book collection and manuscripts of Asiatic Society Mumbai. And this is available, but it is not open. It is subscription based access. Granth Sanjeevani is the name of the portal. So if you want to know data about art and culture, you can become member of. It's a very nominal membership fee for this. Then Data Portal of India, data.gov. It contains some valuable data from Ministry of Culture and from other cultural institutions. So this is open data. This is totally open data, data.gov.in. So whatever is available on this data.gov.in is accessible to you. Delhi State Archive has also digitized about 100 million pages containing various kind of land records and other information. So they are in process of uploading under the Abhilekh Patal of the Delhi State Archive. So this is another, this is available under open access. Then, I mentioned about National Virtual Library of India. So whatever work has been done under National Virtual Library of India, Ministry of Culture, Government of India has decided to create a portal, Indian Cultural Portal. Indian Cultural Portal is basically to provide a single window access to various cultural data, various cultural heritage resources. So some work has already been done it. Some data is already available on this Indian Cultural Portal. And if you want to search, you can search this information on different aspects. Now, besides this, I also want to share with you quickly some work I have initiated in this area. See, archives in India contains the most valuable data, and we don't have any information about what are the archives, what type of various archives, what are the different types of archives in India. In this regard, with the help of UNESCO, I have undertaken a project, a mapping of archives in India, and basically we need to compile a database on archives in India, and this work was started uh, with the aim that we should create an awareness about different archives, library, museum, etc. The initiative is joint with UNESCO, and it also helped. As I mentioned, I am the member of UNESCO IAC Committee on Memory of the World Program. So we also need to recognize and register various kind of data in this important cultural heritage sector. So we need to identify various kind of resources available in different libraries and archives. So this project was also aimed to collect the information regarding most valuable and most rare collections available in these institutions. So main objective of the particular project was to create a directory of archives in India, so that can offer researcher and academics across the borders to have an near encyclopedic idea about active archives in their collections. Keeping that in objective, we are also planning after this directory is almost compiled. We are in the process of just publishing it. Uh, we identified about 500 archives in India, and we sent a questionnaire. We also send a online questionnaire through email. So we were aiming about 100 responses, but we able to get only 90 responses, because most of these archives are in very, very bad condition. These archives are not very well placed, and most of the responses received are from the important cities only. We also deputed our people to get the data collected. Uh, so we are going to have a joint publication. I'm going to share the findings of that uh, survey sometime soon. And this project is going to help us in, like, those researcher and scholars are interested, and we are going to create a portal, archives, directory of archives in India. So anybody who is going to who want to know about various kind of details of archives, their contact number, their location, and the contact details, etc., can contact it. So basically, coming to the end, if you have to, like, these are some of the glimpses of the data I have collected. Like, this is a Tripura State Archive. There's some private archive, good private archive. DCM Heritage Archive is the good. Then Delhi State Archive. Then Khudawats Oriental Public Library. Then Savanana Chaudhary Parivar. This is a private museum. Then this is also a private museum. So basically, to conclude, what I want to tell you that India is the one of the country with the vast heritage. If you combine the manuscript of the entire world, we are having more than that. About 10 million manuscripts are being estimated in this country. So this volume, the vastness is huge. And but somewhere I think our library, archives, and museum professionals, as well as policy makers and government, are not doing the job they are supposed to do in terms of digitizing and putting under a proper digital archiving system. Unfortunately, a lot of digitization has been done by various institutions, but this digitized material has not able to see the internet. Then, because of lack of good digital archiving system, or because of certain good projects which can showcase their material. So, what I'm trying to tell you that we have plenty of data. The data is scattered. Data is not very well organized. It has been in the different stages of digitization. So currently, the researchers are not able to get the access to the data online. Some data is available, but most of the data is not available online. Hope that in near future, the government or professional association in libraries and archivists will come forward and will create some good platform. So with these words, I don't just want to close my presentation. If there is any question or suggestion or feedback or clarification, I will be happy to take up. Thank you very much.